saying that.
No.
Oh, why didn't it do it? I don't know why.
This software's a pagan.
It's
WF representing Palace, so let's tell you about Palace. Rolling straight to the ceiling, crowns and crystals, top flight journeys, dishing out malice. Hold up, South London's grandest, far from bandits. Anything earned for a goal of elevation, just passing the team over here might finish out bright future, we can't vanish. SE25 any day, that's sellers. Rev up the engines, no more reverse reactions, fan cams, bands on stream. Share up the team, support the dream team when Eagles fly, make noise and scheme. Dare to dream or dream to dare, taking a step to become supreme.
Yes, guys, welcome back to Eagle-Eyed Football, and welcome back to the next episode of TACT-EAGLE, where we're going to talk about Crystal Palace's away game to Falmer United. Dan, how is it going? You may or may not have changed your clothes between the intro.
Yeah, well, I had to rep the Palace kit on stream, especially for this stream. And yeah, I hope all of you guys, I hope you appreciate the effort I went to on the thumbnail. And yeah, but yeah, I'm good. I'm off to Belgium tomorrow, actually.
Well, hey.
I'm scouting Archie Brown on Thursday as well. So no, I'm just going to a Ghent game because I wanted to go to a football game in Belgium. So
it'll be funny if he's not playing in that game.
Well, it's a Conference League game, so I hope so.
Well, I hope to see some videos, some tactical analysis going on afterwards. What you liked, what you didn't like, if his dreads are long enough, you know, all the things that revolve around Crystal Palace. But we have got a big game, a very, very big game. It is a rivalry, but we're going to be talking a little bit beyond that, you know, give them flowers when we need to and, you know, rip them away from the thoughts of the general media, let's say, because, you know, they get gassed up quite a bit. So it might be a little time to, you know, simmer down just a little bit. How greedy. Dan, but looking into this game, to me, it looks like it's going to be a good game because both managers are not the type of managers to just sit back and go low block for the whole game and try and hit the other person on the counter-attack. It looks like this is actually going to be an exciting fixture. Both managers want to go forward. Both managers want to win the game. Both managers they don't want draws. They want 3 points. Do you think that this is going to be one of the better games that we've had? Because the last few have been awful. It's just been us defending, them attacking, and we going forwards at the end.
Yeah, I mean, I think you look at the managers that they've had probably since Houghton. I suppose Houghton was their last manager that you would associate with like sitting in a low block. Obviously, I've had Graham Potter, who really liked to control games. Didn't want other teams to have the ball so much. Then they moved on to De Zerbi, and obviously he did very well in his first sort of half season, or I think he joined in January, didn't he? So in that sort of time frame, again, not really associated with a low block, and also again tried to control games, albeit from a bit deeper, rather than controlling it in the final third. And then now they've got Hertzler, who is I would say a bit more of a direct version than De Zerbi, I think. Obviously, JC's going to do the attack, so he'll know more about that than me. And then obviously we've had, I mean, I'm trying to think.
Roy?
Yeah,
Roy.
so yeah, actually, let's get the head-to-head out actually, because I think if you
look at our last few managers, it went. Was it Pardew, De Boer, Allardyce, Roy, Vieira, Roy, Glasner?
Yeah, and I'm trying to think since they got Potter in, which is I think the same season or maybe the season before they got, or maybe the season before that actually, for Patrick Vieira. I'm trying to think, so I can't even remember. Even when we were playing well under Patrick Vieira, I don't remember the games being good. I think they were pretty awful games.
I think they had De Zerbi then, no?
Maybe, I can't remember. But then I know And then obviously Vieira's kind of tactic was
No. De Zerbi was in when we had Roy for the first time, and then Vieira came in after they had De Zerbi. Because remember, De Zerbi came in COVID, and Vieira was just after COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
We had Roy in COVID.
But yeah, long story short, we have Roy, who obviously loves a low block and not even trying for this game. And Vieira, obviously...
Likes to get Elise injured as well.
Yeah, and Vieira, obviously, you know, we went a few games without getting a shot on target, so yeah.
Before we go into the predicted 11, let's go through some comments. So Big Up the Dog said, "Don't tell me
your headphones gone a bit windy, JC."
I'm windy again.
Yeah, you're windy.
All right. Do you want to do some comments while I
get? Dog, don't worry. That's not this show. We never get opposing fans on this one, so don't worry. I don't know. I don't think we got anyone lined up anyway. To be honest, no, you're good now.
Okay.
We don't normally get Brighton fans on here. To be honest, I think the last time we did was about 4 seasons ago. It was a long time ago. What's up?
That is Rich being late to the party, saying that Agbanon is playing for the 21s today. I'm sure we're going to get quite a few more messages saying, "Oh, you know, Chaddy Riyad's playing. Oh, you know, he's playing. You know, he's playing." Oh, I'm going to watch that, and I'm going to go, bruv, TACT-EAGLE, you should be watching. Palace fans here, what's up, people? Big up, Chairman. Big up, Tiddles. He said, "Big up, Tiddles" here. Didn't even clock the tickets went on general sale, so I missed out. Did they actually go to general sale? They normally get sold out way before then.
No, they weren't general. No, they weren't general sale. I couldn't get one. No, there were ones that people had sent back because they couldn't go anymore, and you could still only buy them if you had over a certain amount of loyalty points. So that's not general sale.
Big up Mitch saying, "Enjoy the waffle, sweet." Under Vieira, that was awful. Last minute equalizer from Malpay at home.
To be fair, that I remember we should have won that. Like, I know we conceded in the last minute, but we deserved to win that game. Like,
we should have been way up. We should have been 2 or 3 up, not just 1.
That's the game that I've forgotten about.
The dog says, "I can't see no pagans or wastemans." Plural. Durfez says, all-timer series Plastics United 50 draw, 40 Crystal Palace 51. Yeah, these am I old because I don't know what these acronyms are meaning.
I'm guessing it means what's I don't know what's going on.
Yeah. Big up Alessandra, guys. Missing Riyad, Ashraf Agbanone, and Franco Ball right now. I'm not gonna lie, I've got it on another tab, so I'm watching it as well. So do not fear. Tiddle says Potter's Brighton scored last kick of the game at Selhurst when we had Vieira. I'm sure it was De Zerbi. 2-0. 2 Gash goals, to be fair. Don't spell it out. Evening. And Derry is filthy for the 21s right now. Cool. Let's go straight into the predicted 11. So the first thing we talk about when we talk about predicted 11, we go to injuries. So Crystal Palace, we've got quite a few players back. Mateus França injured. Adam Wharton potentially back. Glasner said on the 6th, if he trains and completes the week, then he will be available for the Brighton squad. That tells me he will be on the bench. At most. He's not starting, he'll be on the bench. He might get a few minutes here or there, depending on what's happening in the game. And Rob Holding is still with the kids. And, even today he's not even on the bench. So, bit of a long day for him. However, if we go over to the Brighton side, they've got quite a few injuries. However, on PremierLeagueInjuries.com, am I keeping you awake, mate?
Oh, sorry.
If you look at PremierLeagueInjuries.com, they've got quite a few injuries, but they all say they're returning for our game. So I'll read them out. So returning for our game is Kaduolu, Hinselwood, Webster, James Milner, and Veltman. The only one that's 100% out that we know of is Solly March. I think I called Dan earlier. I think the only one that could maybe dislodge someone is probably Kaduolu for Lamptey. But I think Lamptey's played 2 really good games, scored a banger. He ain't getting dropped. So
Banger. Yeah, good cross. Good cross.
oh yeah. A great manager once said, "A lucky goal, fluke goal, bad goal." Did he say anything else?
I don't know. I just remember him crying pretty much.
Yeah. More tears, please. Anyway, here we go. So I've gone with a bold prediction in this game, and that is that we're going to wear the black kit because we haven't worn it yet this season. Not even once. So that's my bold prediction for this game. Dan, what do you think? Yellow or black?
I mean, if we go in the black kit for the first time, that's a lot of chaotic energy there. I'm not too sure about that one.
Mm-hmm. But if we go into the team, Henderson in goal, Mitchell, Gay, Lacroix, Chalobah, Munoz, sticking with the same team basically with Hughes and Lerma in the middle, Ebbs on the left, Sarr on the right with JP through the middle. Dan, are you in agreement or are you changing something?
The only thing I was considering changing is maybe putting Decore instead of Lerma, only because I think we would like someone a bit more press resistant there. But other than that, yeah, I think I know there'll be questions of like, should Devaney start? I think we need to start with a forward player rather than Devaney. I think it'll be more important from an attacking point of view for us to start with forward players rather than have more people in the middle.
Mm-hmm. However, what I would say is with our players coming back, our bench looks so much better. Turner, Decore, Devaney, Wharton, Richards, Nketiah, Kamada, Klein, but Schlupp still makes his way there, unfortunately. But how much better is that bench from having 2 goalkeepers and 4 youth players?
Oh yeah,
a lot better, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's good to see all the players back because then we can actually, we've got a bit more depth.
Yeah, so when you take off Hughes, like granted, Devaney's not been bad, but now you've got the option of Decore or Wharton. If you take off Eze, granted you have the option of Kamada, but it's still better to have the option than to not have it.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
Moving over to the Brighton side, this is how they're set up on Sky. If you look at how they're set up there, but this is not how they play at all. So it's a little bit more kind of like it's a bit more like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's sort of how they play, really. So even though they're set up on Sky as a 4-2-3-1, they don't do that. Hertz has actually come out and said when he was at his previous job that he doesn't believe in formations, he doesn't believe in positions. So, I think that's a little bit of an inside of what's to come. So I've gone with Verbruggen in goal, with Estepinian, Dunk, and Van Hecker, with Ayari and Baliba as the midfielders, Lamptey, Rutter, Pedro. He's got a slightly different name if you just remove the R. Ferguson and Mitoma. Dan, do you agree? Would you put in Welbeck instead of Ferguson? What's going on?
If I was Hertz, I would put him in, but that's not to say that he would, because he does seem to have rotated the team a lot over the last week or so.
Mm-hmm. And again, like what I was saying with us, they've got a very strong bench as well. Steele, Minte, Welbeck, Kaduolu, Adingra, who's not getting hardly any minutes this season, even after winning the AFCON not long ago. O'Reilly's come back from his injury. Igor Milner's back, and I don't know how to say that guy's name. Vifa. Yeah, Dan, changing anything? Happy with that team?
Yeah, I think that makes sense. As I said, it could be, it could be other players, could be O'Reilly, could be Vifa, could chuck Minter on. Who knows?
Yeah, I think Minter's quality, by the way.
Yeah, I think he's good as well, and I think he would play well against us, to be honest.
Mm-hmm. Going into the comments again. Who remembers JP's first goal for Palace? It was a back heel against Brighton, if I do remember rightly, at their place.
Oh yeah, that was Was that when we won 2-1 and Benteke scored in the last minute, or was that the 1-1?
I believe so. It was the 2-1 to us. Big Up Jay says, "What is the game of the day? Only the first goal."
It's on Sunday.
Big mistake from Asher leads to a break 2-1. Corner was one of Lampard's goals. Oh yeah, corner goal. Yeah, thank you very much. Tarek loves a scrap against them. Damo is gassed that Kamada is returning. There might be some. I'm not sure if I believe him fully. Devaney's good, but probably better suited to start versus weaker teams where pace can really help attack, even if he isn't at the skill level of Eze, in my opinion. If one striker can score his first goal for Palace against Brighton, why can't another? Man like Nketiah,
If he's coming off the bench, then sure.
Yeah.
But I think this is a game for Mateta, in my opinion.
You think his control's good enough after what he did against Man City to even get anywhere near the goal?
Well, no, but...
Animal saying Estepinian has the pace to match Sarr. I don't think he does.
I don't think he does either, to be honest.
To be fair, Estepinian's good. He's not that fast, from what I remember. When you see him on the highlights. I don't really watch Brighton, but whenever I've watched him and when I was looking at the attack, he was never really skipping away from people. He's only made that yard because he's really good at timing his runs. He's not fast, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
Keeper is like their
Kamada.
Kamardinho. We get it right. Gets insane hate from those fans from overreacting. Good to see the support for he's one of our players who's having a bad season. Fight and win FC. And for some reason, I thought he could burn. No,
I didn't think he was that quick.
I don't ever remember him being that quick, to be fair. Right, let's get into how the man attack. So, I have my notes. If I'm looking down, I'm reading my notes because, to be fair, I've got a few today. All right, let's go. Brighton are actually quite predictable when they go forwards. Really, really predictable. And I say that because I think that Hertz has seen what De Zerbi has sort of put into their team already, and he's just sort of adapting it to his system. So I say that because Brighton still like to invite the press. So you'll still see the goalkeeper, you'll still see the centre-back standing on the ball, inviting the press onto them to then make and start a move. So, for example, you'll see Verbruggen, you'll see Van Hecke, or even you-know-who, stand on the ball, wait for the other team to press, and then they'll make a decision. Whether that decision is to pass the ball through the line, whether that decision is to actually dribble out from the back as a centre-back or as the goalkeeper. And that could come in handy a little bit later when Dan talks about how to beat them. Or just flat out hoofing it long. those are really the only 3 ways they do it. They never actually pass and then play out from the back with short passes. It's always either a long ball up top, inviting the press, and like a long ground pass through the lines, or they'll dribble forwards. That is really the only way that they play out. They've only got 3 ways of doing it. They're not really that versatile. However, though, when it does work, they bring out 3-4 players to press 3 players. And then if you can make your way into the midfield, then automatically they've got an overload in your half of the pitch. And if they've got an overload in their half of the pitch, what are they going to be creating? Triangles, triangles, triangles. So basically this is like what's his name? Lopetegui all over again, isn't it? Bare triangles, absolutely everywhere.
Like the Illuminati.
We can't speak about those, man. We can't speak about them. 'Cause stuff happens.
Well, the Illuminati caught him, didn't they?
Caught who?
That's a video for another stream.
Yeah, Lopetegui. Anyway, that's why they won yesterday. Triangles. And that's as simple as it is, because they have that overload. So let's say, I don't know, let's say Van Hecker is the one with the ball here. There we go. I always forget the ball. Let me get the ball. Okay, the ball's here. Here, so we would go out and we'd look to try and press like this. And you would see him, I don't know, let's just say, like, figuratively, Mateta makes us run that way, Sar's here, and we can pick a pass all the way to Belieber here. Already, they have an overload in our half of the pitch. And if you look at him, just easy pass. Where are we going, Dan? Triangles. Oh, there's one there. There's one. I know I'm making triangles out of squares, but please, we don't have the software to be doing this. Triangle there. Triangle there. This is a square, so you can make many triangles there. Triangle there. Basically, what I'm trying to say is there's a lot of options to pass to, basically. And then he starts to take his philosophy from De Zerbi to bring out the press to then create an overload in their half. Then he starts to switch his philosophy to how he used to play his old clubs. So it's very one-touch passing. It's very much linking up the play. It's very much moving off the ball to give your teammate more options. It's very much moving off the ball to drag other players away, to give that other player even more options that aren't yourself. It's very much high energy, and it's very much trying to, even if you're not doing much, even if you don't even have the ball's on the other side of the pitch, it's still moving around and acting as if you're ready to get the ball at any point in time. It's done to try and keep the other team as on edge as possible, try and keep them uncomfortable, and try and unlock the team by moving around, and hopefully they fall out of line. When I say this, let's hypothetically say that they are just putting everyone on the bench. They're all having it must be cold on the bench because they're all getting very close. Let's say hypothetically here, Pedro drops, picks up the ball, and then everyone's running forwards towards our goal. As I said, he doesn't believe in formations, doesn't believe in positions. You will see Rutter running in behind. You'll see that both of their fullbacks running in behind on both sides. Both strikers, both wingers. So probably only one winger because the other one's dropped in here. But you will see the midfielders absolutely busting a gut to try and get in front. So one of them will hang back ever so slightly. Let's say it's this guy. But what you will see is, I guess, like a decoy run, you'd say. So Belieber might actually start here, and as they're moving forwards, he'll run across the person who's driving with the ball straight towards the goal. He'll run across into a zone like this, and then make a 3-on-2 situation here. And by doing this, Lacroix is either going to stick or twist. He's going to stick with Ferguson here, or he's going to twist and leave Ferguson for Believer. But he's always going to stay with the striker. But they have scored quite a few goals, and their midfielders have actually got quite a few assists for midfielders that are meant to be defensive midfielders. They're not. They go forwards, they help attack. So you would see, because there's an overload here, that ball could get played to Believer, who'd be completely unmarked here, to then cut it back to someone else to shoot. They have these deep runs that work against a lot of teams. It worked against Man United very well early on in the season. I think they scored against Leicester, doing something very similar. But the decoy run took the centre back away from the striker, and the striker, I think Pedro, scored. So when they've played out of the back, and when they're actually in possession of the ball in the opposition half, they're very fluid with how they make attacks. With the good old triangles, they make a lot of chances. Let's go back here again. So I think the example that I would use is probably Minte. I think Minte does this a bit better than Rutter does. Rutter's a great player, by the way, but I think that, in my personal opinion, I think Minte suits Hertzler's way of playing a little better. But I say this because they play slightly. I actually said this to Dan. I think he was a bit confused earlier. They play a little bit like how we did at the end of last season, where they've got a lot of options up front, and on either side, they've got a slightly different way of playing. So, for example, Mitoma, his job is to pick up the ball from deep, dribble forwards, and whenever the ball's not with him, to just hold the width, stay out wide. That's what Michael Elise did for us, but on the other side. Whereas Minte's role here is to drive on the inside, stay as close to the goal, drive towards the goal, and cut in and shoot. That's very much what Eze was doing. He wasn't really doing much picking up the ball from deep and dribbling forwards. He was very much picking up the ball, driving straight towards the goal, and shooting. And then what did we do? We had Tyreek Mitchell, and in this case, Lamptey, on the overlap on this side. And then Munoz, Estepinian on the other side, doing the underlap. It's very, very similar to what we were doing last season. It worked very, very well last season. The only difference is that we had only one striker up top. They've got two. So they've got more options in the middle that they're going to be aiming at if they're looking to get assists. Granted, we did have more people back, so we are a little bit more defensively sound when we were going forwards. But because they've got so many people going forwards, they are outscoring their XG. So this season, they are +3. So they scored 3 more goals than they should have statistically so far this season. And also with how their players are playing, Minte, this might be a little bit of a misleading stat, but Minte, on average, every single 90 minutes he's played so far this season, he's completed 2.5 dribbles per 90 in the opposition half. And that sounds great. That sounds really good. But when I say dribbles in the opposition half, I mean literally the whole half. So if he picks up the ball from here and dribbles to here, that's still classed as a dribble in the opposition half. So don't let that stat sound mislead you to think that he's dribbling into the box, because dribbling into the box is a whole completely different stat, different zone, blah, blah, blah. He's not doing that, but still, it's very impressive that he's managed to beat a man anywhere in the opposition half consistently as well. I think he's got like a 50% success rate. So really, if he does play, Mitchell's going to have a really torrid time against him, especially with Lamptey being on form as well. The wingers are very good because, obviously, as I said, they dribble forwards. They're very confident on the ball, but they're not afraid to use, to get help from their teammates, basically. So let's use Minte again as an example. You could see Minte get the ball, stand up mark, say, nah, I'm not going to have any of that. He'd lay it back to Belieber, but then the second he lays it back, he'll spin and run. And then you could see very much it's happened very many times. Believage could just lift the ball over the top. He could play a ball around the corner. He could play in someone else. They work off 1-2s. Like I said, they want to work off the ball for each other. They want to progress the ball forward as fast as possible. Midfielders committing forwards. Blah, blah, blah. Cool. That's how they attack. Got a lot of tools to their belt, but really and truly, they only have 3 main ways of going forwards. And how do we stop it? So, as I said, they are outscoring the XG by +3 goals, and they are averaging 3 goals a game up until this point in the season. I think when I looked at it, it was like 3.17 at home, 3 exactly away. So they're very good at scoring goals. I won't tell you what they are like at conceding goals, because I'm sure Dan will tell you about that. But they build up the ball in 3 ways. I've sort of kind of explained some of them, but now I'll give you a little bit more of how to stop it. So, the first one. The keeper likes to go very direct to Welbeck. So, I will put Ferguson on the bench here. Welbeck will come out. Keeper likes to go direct when playing out from the back. And this is because Welbeck has got such good movement for someone that's so old. I don't know if that's a pause because that sounds wild in my head. But you will see their goalkeeper, even though he may have a mistake in him, he is able to kick out the ball very well. He's able to pick this pocket very often. And what you would see is Welbeck pressing the back line, press the back line, press the back line. The second he steps up to kick the ball, he'll drop in. And this ball will land rough. He'll chest control it and then lay it off. And then spin and go. So that is the first way. Lift it up, let him get the ball, pass it out. How do we stop this? I think that we have to be aggressive here. They want our centre-backs to be aggressive. They want to be able to pull one out of position, pass it off, spin, and then run in behind. But in my opinion, high risk, high reward is back again. If he goes short, and you're going to commit to going short as well with him, I've got to get the ball, or you get the ball and the man, so they can't then use Welbeck as an option straight away. So if this happens, and they both go, and Welbeck can lay it off, if Lacroix can take him out, and then Lacroix can get back, Welbeck will be in the attack, but he'll be like behind everyone, so he won't be an immediate threat at the time. So that's the first one. When the keeper has the ball and they want to try and play to a defender who'll then try and dribble out, because there'll be such a huge gap in between the defender, which is here, and everyone else, because really and truly they play like a 3-0-7 formation. Just doesn't make sense. 0 midfield. Bro's basically playing what Ten Hag wanted to play. It's a bit mad. If he tries to dribble out and you can nick that ball, which isn't the hardest thing in the world, we'll have a heavy overload in our favour, and interceptions to shotgun to what is it called, Dan? It's you intercept the ball and it leads up to a shot.
Shot creating action.
No, errors lead shots, I think.
Mm-hmm.
They're very high with this, and this is probably one of the main things. They think they're too sick at passing. They'll try and pass, they'll try and dribble through you. It's not always the best. Pressing them is the best way to defend against them. If we can get the ball before the ball gets into their heavy overload here, if we can grab the ball here, we're going to be looking forward to scoring some goals, actually. And the last one is Welbeck again. Very similar to this one where he drops in short here, but this is more of if the ball's in play. What Welbeck will do is you will see him standing in an offside position 60% of the game. 60-65% of the game. He will stand in an offside position. But what you'll see is he'll stand in the blind spot of the centre back, and the second that a midfielder beats a man, he'll then drop into the pocket on the blind side of the centre back, so I won't even see it coming. Play it into Welbeck. They'll carry on running. Welbeck will lay it off to someone else to then play it through, and then it's all link-up play. It's all one-touch passing. How do we stop this? You got to try and not let Welbeck do this, basically. You got to try and stop them before they can actually commence these kind of movements, because as we saw against City, the second the ball's passed one touch, you can't follow it. You got to try and then intercept the pass instead of blocking the man. So with Lacroix's pace, we could probably get back from that. But with their overload, our centre-backs have to tuck in. Chalobah and Mark have to be very disciplined, and they have to be very on it in this game. But it is high risk, high reward. If we can get the ball, because they commit so much forwards, they're very, very vulnerable to counterattacks.
Yeah.
Dan, anything else you want to add about how they attack?
No, I think one thing I think will be interesting actually is because I haven't seen them play against a back five this season. Because even Forest, who obviously we know normally does play a back five, they didn't play a back five against Brighton, which I thought was very interesting. So it'd be interesting to see if or they change anything based on, because we're obviously not going to change to a back four. So that'd be very interesting.
Yeah, and anything how they attack that you want to add, or that's about everything?
No, that's it really. And to be fair, I'll mention some of it when I talk about how we can attack them, because I think from what Jace is saying, I feel like everyone can kind of guess what the best way to attack them is. So,
quickly into some comments before we go into the defense. Alex saying, looking forward to Jace, you cooking. I hope I've cooked.
You have cooked.
Did I cook?
You cooked.
I cook badly in real life. I say this. Van Bruggen's worth a mistake. Press, especially in the Fulham game, that showed it. Animal having a look potential signings in the summer from relegated teams. Or let's hope that we're not one of them first before we can start thinking about that.
Animal, do you mean from last season or this, or the ones who might go down this season?
Who went down last year?
Sheffield United, Luton, and Burnley.
Koleosho is probably the only one that sticks out to me.
Yeah, off the top of my head, yeah.
Yeah, maybe Ogbene went to Ipswich, didn't they?
That's the thing. I think didn't Mengi go somewhere as well?
Did Adebayo go, or is he still there?
I'm not sure, but I don't think he's had a good. I think he stayed, but he hasn't had a good season.
Hot take: I think Doherty's very overrated. Cross merchant.
Oh, Doughty, yeah.
Very overrated. People really hype him. I think he's very overrated. Very one-dimensional kind of footballer.
I think he's very much a system player. Like in that system, good. But
Durfez has got some good ideas here. Ball over the top. Lacroix stops it. 2, dribbling Lerma stops. Counter press. Gay plus WB stopping.
Yeah.
Will we see Kamada instead of Devaney now? No, because we didn't see it, because he still rather played Devaney over Kamada in the last game. Against Manchester City as well. Big up Voodoo. Can't remember if he was benched last game or still on the red note. Kamada was on the bench. Bench shouldn't be playing for us again. Devaney offers us both 4th DM. 3rd attacking mid. Kamada's probably the 6th DM, 5th or 6th AM. Devaney is really more useful to us than Kamada. Well, they both cost us the same money.
To be fair to Kamada, what I will say is I will have him there in the attacking mid over Schlupp. So
yes,
you can have
that. Is that based on his performances in the 10 Durfez? He hasn't really had a chance.
Hasn't really played there, to be fair.
And when he did get the chance, Mateta gave him a hospital pass and got himself sent off. So it is what it is. Big basically versatility is what helping them with their attack, and they're outscoring their XG. So they're scoring goals that they really shouldn't be. So they're scoring goals where their goalkeeper really should be saving it. And the chances they do make us are like so nailed on as well. So even if a chance is like absolutely nailed on, like it's an open net, the XG will probably still only say like 0.7 or something. So if they have a lot of those chances, they'll outscore it quite easily. I like Kamada's pace when he plays, though. The pressing, you can see Munoz doing the same. Hughes does it best. Who have Saar very fast when we're attacking. We need speed. Eze kind of slows it down. I don't think you're wrong there. Eze does slow it down, and that's a fact.
It does.
Yeah, most dribbles and ends up with a back pass. You talk about Mitchell as well with that one, though. Devaney's better than Kamada. A lot of comments there. At least Kamada was free, but we've played 30 million for Nketiah. Great game for Hughesy. Gonna skip a few people. Thank you for your comments, all, by the way. There's just a lot of them. Decore has to start in this game, so spiritual. And I think Animal was saying for teams that go down this year, so he says the lap, but I'm sure we'll get interest from the top 6. And Spiritual Sphere says Kamada would be a great squad player.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, let's go into the final part for the defense.
Now, you know I'm organised today because I've already got it on the screen.
He has names, no acronyms, names.
Yeah, I don't know why Hughes is the only one who's actually got thing on Marzo, but yeah, anyway.
He's the GOAT.
He is the GOAT. He
to be
fair,
our Nigerian international.
Will Hines. I thought he was our man of the match, to be fair, on when was it? Sunday. So, Brighton. So first thing I am going to say is they've undershot their expected goals against. So that means they're only one of 3 teams that have overperformed in both expected goals and expected goals against. The other 2 teams, one is Chelsea and the other is Leicester City. So you could say they're quite lucky. I would say so. Now, in terms of their non-penalty expected goals this season, they actually aren't very effective, I don't think. Where are they? Oh, whoops, I'm on the wrong bit, that's why. So their non-penalty expected goals against, they are actually ranked 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. They rank 15th for the amount of non-penalty expected goals they've conceded this season. 15th. The only teams that are worse are West Ham, Brentford. Brentford a bit of a weird one though. Leicester City, Ipswich Town and Southampton. So 3 relegated teams. Brentford, who have just been very weird this season, and West Ham, who were participating in El Sacico the other day.
And none of them got sacked.
And guess what? Oh, sorry. Oh, no, sorry. And Wolves as well. Sorry, I misclicked that. And Wolves as well, who we all know have got a really horrific defence. And for some reason, somehow we didn't beat them. But anyways, how do they defend? Well, I think the first thing to really point out, and I do have more stats, but I'm going to kind of drip feed those as we go along when they're relevant. But one thing to know is, and I'm sure you kind of got this from JC's thing, is that let's say that they are in a low block. This low block doesn't happen very often. It's very much a transitional they're very much a transitional team. So the idea of there being a low block, they do have one when they need it, but it's not that common. And whilst we're there, let's talk about it. So generally what they do is that these 4 will defend very narrow. Because I think what they like to do is whatever side of the pitch the ball is on, they prefer to shift those players over a little bit. And you'll see what I mean in a minute. So let's say we're up here and let's say we do have them on a low block, blah, blah, blah. Whatever. something like this. What you will see sometimes is you will see kind of like so their 4 at the back will shift over, and you'll often see Rutter, if he's been told to man mark, like say a winger in his position, he will kind of drop to make it like a back 5. Now, what you will see is when they are on this side of the pitch in this low block, which, like I said, it doesn't happen that often, what you will see is they will try to overload defensively. And I think this is why they drop into this kind of back 5, because they want to push a centre back over so they can get an overload. So if we've got, like the full back and say the winger here and the winger here, then they've got 3 players to try and get past. And if they need to, let's say TACT-EAGLE joins in, then O'Reilly will come over and they'll shift over a bit like this. So you kind of see what I mean in that they'll sort of shift over a little bit. Okay, I'm going to show some actual examples on Paint later, so I'm not going to go through exactly how to go through this. But to be honest, this doesn't I feel like this is going to be a very transitional game as well. You might see this now and again, but I don't think this is going to be something that happens very often. So now this is the bit that I think everyone's kind of expecting, because they so in terms of the average chance they concede, they are the joint second worst team in the league, and they average a non-penalty XG per shot of 0.13. The only team worse is Manchester City, who we documented very well aren't very good at defending counters. Generally speaking, when you do have something that high, it is because you can't defend counters. Or if you're like Ipswich or Southampton, you're just not very good. The only other team on 0.13 is Manchester United, who obviously had Erik ten Hag, who JC said, they play kind of similar in a way. And I think, if you're in that kind of category of, okay, Manchester City, who can't counter press this season and are really bad at defending counters, Ipswich Town, and Manchester United, who had Erik ten Hag and can't defend counters, then you probably can't defend counters. And I think a lot of that is because obviously the way they play is very high risk. It's very high risk. So we put them all up here, blah blah blah, and then generally, like JC said, they'll have they'll have all the players over here somewhere, and then blah blah blah, something like this, and it'll kind of represent something like that, right? Over here somewhere. Whoops. And so on and so forth. Now, obviously, if you was to let's say that they are running through and Belaber's tried that ball that JC was saying, and we win the ball here. Well, I mean, it doesn't take a genius to work out that they're not really in a good stead to really sort this out. And another thing I noticed as well is that apart from, I think Belaber for me, I thought makes more sense when he's back, because Belaber, I think, is very good at screening this area, kind of similar to like a Caicedo, or to a lesser extent like a Rodri or someone like that. And I think if you're able to kind of bypass him, then you've got a very good run at these back 3. And as we were saying earlier, Estupinian, he's not slow, but I don't think he's not very quick. Certainly not as quick as Sarr. And then you've got the Clogger and you've got Van Hecker. So, and this is another reason why I would like to keep Eze here, because I think if you kind of pair him up here, he's going to have a lot of room. I know he slows things down, but if we're ever in a situation where they have let's say we've won the ball over here and they are surrounding us. And another reason why I want to check the Corey is that because they have a lot of players up, if we win the ball there, then they're going to have a lot of players around us. So we need to be able to play out, and rather than having to play it backwards, which to be fair is what teams do tend to do, But if we can just play like a quick 1-2 through there, all Eze has to do is pull wide. Got Mateta, who I would back to have dunk on toast, to be honest. And then you've got Lasar, who is very, we all know is very quick. So that really is the aim of the game. Like, there really isn't much more to it in terms of this. As I said, I'll go through some examples of non-transitional things, because the thing is, I could spend all day talking about transitions, but at the end of the day, it's just what we make of it, and it just depends on how quickly we can break and stuff like this. And to be honest, on transitions, if you do get them over here, like generally speaking, the only players that actually end up coming back. To be fair, Lamptey's quite quick, so he does normally make it back in the rough area. And Belabor. So it tends to only really be these 5 if you catch them on a transition. So, like I said, it's just kind of what we make of it. Now, I'm going to go straight on to the... Actually, no. What I'll do is... I'll wait a sec. So what you will see sometimes in their terms of their structure, and this is kind of feeding into what JT was saying about Hertz not understanding football and not understanding positions, is that they do have different kind of phases of how they kind of like where they position themselves in the mid block. Sometimes you'll see it as, let's say, so normally our players would be a bit further. This would be, say, like if we've got the ball and
they've got a very similar thing to what you were saying with Man City about their average positions. They're so close together in the middle. They're basically in like a line if you look at the average position. Yeah,
no, definitely. And I think because what you'll see is, so they could line up in a like a 4-2-4 sort of thing. They could line up in a 4-3, like a 3-3-4. And then sometimes I've even seen it, and we do this as well, where maybe Rutter will drop back and then they kind of have this pentagon in the middle, which is what we do as well. And a lot of that is just to strangle that central progression. That's all it is. And it's to stop any passing lanes in there. They might set themselves up in more of a 3-3-4 if they think they can win the ball. And they do have some press triggers. So, for example, a press trigger, let's say Gay's got the ball and he passes it to Ty Mitchell, they will come out. They will come out and meet the player. And hopefully what they want to try and do is they want to try and get his player to pass back. And then that's when they'll try and do this. And ideally for them, if say Ty Mitchell's here and is passed and then Gay has to receive it with his back to our goal, then that's when they'll press again. And then that will force him back to Henderson or whoever. But if he passes it to Lacroix, then it'll be the same thing. Press up and face them, and then just force them back. And then they kind of sit back into whichever shape they kind of feel is best to defend against us. So I say is to kind of block these central progressions and make it difficult for when they do go down the wing to do this. I do think this isn't a press to generate turnovers like we do. So they're not looking to generate turnovers to try and make shots out of it. They're just trying to win the ball back and try and force us to go long, and then they win the ball back, basically. That's the way I see it. Now, how do we press through this? How do we go past these? So I've got some examples from other teams, which I think makes sense. So I haven't got the folder up. Apologies. So I've got a few. So let's pick the overloads on the wing. So like I was saying, I think they're quite easily manipulatable on the wing. So this is against Newcastle. So this was a while ago. So maybe they sorted this out a bit better. I didn't think they had when I'd seen them last. But anyways, so this ball is going there to Tino Livramento, I think that is. And he's going to receive the ball in a second. Oh, no, sorry. The ball's gone back. And then he's going to pass it back to Tino Livramento, who then turns. Now, you can see what I was saying. So generally, they're 4. So on this occasion, Rutter didn't drop. He didn't do that in this game. So obviously, they do have some flexibility. But you can see their back 4 minus this player they're relatively here. And obviously they've got their players who are over as well. So I don't know who these players are, but obviously their midfield is over to try and gain a numerical advantage over here. Now he passes at the ball. Now, the thing is with the way that they defend, so it's a Belieber or whoever it is will cover this central area again, just to stop them getting a bit caught out. But what this means is there is a space in this channel here that you are then able to, if you pick up the ball and you do make a good pass, you're able to pass this ball here. Now, the problem is that this player is going through here. So then it's this player that is in a bit of a bother, because it means this player has to come over here. And therefore, I think it's Liverman, ends up, it's Tonali, ends up on here on his own. So then you have a situation where you have this pass here, and then you've got potentially an option to cross it into the box or make it to the byline. So just to recap that, simple pass. Because of the way they defend, it leaves an inside channel between Belieber and whoever's defending on this side. Obviously, the reverse would be true on the other side, which would be Ayari or whoever it is. And then as long as you make that run through, then I think from deep, then I think we could be quids in there. And obviously that's Newcastle. We've seen them play this season in attack. They're a bit rubbish. So bear that in mind.
Yeah. Even in that last picture, you saw that there was no one picking up Isak. No one was even looking at him.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel like they do defend a bit. I don't really know, because I couldn't work out if they were actually trying to defend zonally or if they were trying to defend man to man. It's kind of like zonal, but then they become quite aggressive with how it is. But I don't know. But anyway, so this is another one. Apologies for the quality of this. But receive the ball here, Newcastle. All they do is simple pass down there. So obviously now you've got two players here, but obviously this player is going to have to come out there. Comes to meet them. But this player here is watching this player. So all it took was a little skip pass. This is Anthony Gordon, to be fair. So obviously he's quite quick. But what he's done is skip past there. This player here is dragging this player over here somewhere. But again, you get a situation where you've got a runner potentially across into the box. Anthony Gordon runs to the byline, cuts it across, and Isak has a decent opportunity. So, yeah, do you see what I mean? I can't really work out what they're doing. But anyway.
It looks like it's not famous last words, but it doesn't seem like it's the hardest thing in the world to get goal side.
No, I don't think so. To be honest, and this is why they rank 15th in terms of it. So yeah, and again, like where they're kind of standing, I don't know. Like there's so much space in between these lines. Like you got space there. I know they're trying to block this area here, but you've also got space like over here as well. Like this is also why I think Eze would be doing quite well in this game, because they do have, there is a lot of space here. And again, you can see actually a different shape here, like a 1-5-4. But again, you got that pass there, you got that pass there, so on and so forth. They leave a lot of gaps. And another thing I will say is this gap between the defence and the midfield, I think is quite big, as you'll see in this picture here. So again, this is
same game.
Sorry, that's gone. That's Newcastle. Sorry. Yeah, so this is Newcastle again. So they picked up the ball here. You can see their defensive lines over here, their midfield lines over here. So you've got all of this space to work with. I don't know who that is. I don't know if that's Gordon or Lewis Hall or whoever. But anyway, all this player's done. It's Anthony Gordon. Sorry. Like this player's not gotten touch tight to him at all. I think because they want to keep a line, maybe. I think that's what it is. And Gordon is just going to drop here, plays into here, and immediately you've got a situation where, okay, this player here is pushing this line back, which is good, which is something that Mateta will definitely do. Anthony Gordon can move inside there, and then you got two very clever. If you do clever runs, you got good potential options. You got this run and pass here, or you've got this cut inside here and then this pass into this big gap here. Doesn't actually do that, ends up taking it backwards, so doesn't actually take the opportunity, but then he ends up cutting outside, and then eventually this is going to go to Tonali. He does a 1-2, and then they're through again on this space over here. They want to keep this back line, but the distance, in my opinion, is so big in this particular situation that so all he does is turn, this player runs, and then your quid's in. You got all this space to run into. This player's offside, but if they're in a better position, that's a good run for a pass out wide. And again, Isak as well, the type of player who could put a ball into the top and so on and so forth. But either way, you're in this space. As long as you've got runners over the lines, you're kind of playing Brighton at their own game, I suppose.
So basically, their press stinks.
Yeah, so funny enough, actually, I'm going to talk about their press. I wasn't that particularly impressed by their press. I don't think their press is that good. So this is the press. I don't know why it does that. So this is why I also think it'll be interesting to see how they play against a back five, because all these examples I saw were from not a back five.
And also bear in mind that this is against Leicester, so not the best passing team in the world.
Yeah, no, exactly. So what they'll do, to be honest, they do something that a lot of teams do. They'll have two players here blocking central progression, and then they'll have someone who's normally a striker splitting the pitch. So what that basically means is if you do that ball over the top, they're either going to block it or it's going to take such a long time to get there that, they'll just be able to press it, and it's just not a good idea. So basically what you're doing is you're forcing this pass, forcing that pass. Mitoma's here waiting for that, like I said, the press trigger. And they're just going to try and force it long. So obviously, like I said, kind of forced to make that pass. But what I do notice is, because then what they would hope to happen is that this player comes out here, puts them under pressure, whilst this player is covering this player. And then the thing is, this person's kind of out of option because their Mitoma will press there. And then what they would hope is that you lump it long, and then they basically get the ball back. But what I did notice was that if they don't do this, this diagonal is very much on. And the thing is, if you do this, so you've passed this diagonal through there. I don't know who this is.
That's Ndidi, I think.
Yeah, it's Ndidi. So, and then this is dragging Baleba out of position. So like I said earlier, I think he's a very important player because he screens that defence.
And also that one pass cuts out 5 players.
Yeah, so he can do anything. He can, depending on the pass, he could take it on and go further. If he's a bit behind him and we're a bit smarter with it, and again, this is what I was saying, having a 5 at the back would be interesting, then maybe this defender here could have become an option, and then he can turn out and go there, and then suddenly, all of these 5 players are, again, in kind of no man's area, so on and so forth. The final images I'm going to show, because there is one more thing I did want to mention before we finish. But the last thing is on here, on paint, is just another way of evading the press. So this was Fulham. So I know Fulham are playing well this season, but I think what they do, we can replicate. So Fulham, they got their back three with the goalkeeper in build-up. This could very easily be us. That could be Maxence Lacroix. That could be Mark Gay, etc., etc. So they do pass it out wide, like Brighton kind of wanted them to. But again, this diagonal pass here, because the thing is, I think having this setup is good, and it would back us, because this is Trevor Chalobah, which, okay, bear with me, I know he's probably not going to do this diagonal pass, but because
he could dribble into that area instead of passing it.
I'd rather he pass it, to be honest, because the thing is, if you dribble, like you're going to get cut off. So I'd rather, if he dribbles a little bit and then passes, that's fine. But I think realistically, you're going to need to pass it through there. And I think because they have this player here, it means that this player can't just go over, because then you just get an easy pass back to the defender. But again, see what I was saying about this diagonal here, goes into this player here, and then where's the ball?
Out
gone?
wide to Iwobi.
Yeah, and he's one touch pass out to Iwobi, and then suddenly you've basically effectively generated a transition. He can run down there, or if he's got a good pass on him, could go inside there, or even in better pass, could go over there. This is a lot of things. And then that's what I'm saying. This is where he passed it from. There are options, 100%. So that's the final bit of paint. The only last thing I do want to say as well is that they do play with a very high line. So even in a mid block, they play with this high line. So if there's, when I say the mid block, actually, let me get my tactics board up just to kind of explain what I mean. So
when you say high line, I think of Ismail Assar.
Well, yeah, exactly. So when I was talking about them having a big gap between the thing, that's kind of like, say the ball's like here or something like that. That's when they got a big gap here. When they play with a high line, it's more like here. And then let's say that they're a bit more squished over here. That's when they play a high line. So it's not like a mega high line, like say an Aston Villa or something. But in my opinion, it's high enough that a little, if you do it right, a little ball over the top, that's gold dust. And that's all I have to say about Brighton and Hove Albion. Falmer United. Sorry.
Yeah, I think maybe one thing that I would say as well is that we could actually do quite well against them in set pieces. I don't think that they're the most physical team in the world, because obviously they have got a few physical players like Rutter, Evan Ferguson, Welbeck, you know who. But Van Hecker, yes, he's a good centre back, not the most physical guy in the world. Lamptey and Estepinian, I don't imagine them doing the most at set pieces. So really, I think we're going to be looking at corners and free kicks in this game as well. We could actually get some life out of this.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, absolutely. And if if Maxence Lacroix's on it again, who knows? Maybe he could have another opportunity like we got against City.
100%. Yeah. Finally, before we round out today, we're going to do the score predictions. And normally, the person who's hosting goes first. So, this is one of the ones, where before I even thought about looking into this, I'm sitting here going, it's going to be a draw. It's always a draw. It's going to be 1-1. But the more I've been looking into this, and the more that I think that we're actually really underestimating ourselves, because we did very well against Manchester City. We should have won. Liverpool, who are absolutely killing everyone, they only beat us 1-0. We did very well against Chelsea. We beat Spurs. Granted, we're doing well against these big teams, but it's very Palace thing to do well against them and do rubbish against teams around us. But I think that we haven't done very well against them in so long. I think it's probably about time we deserve to beat them, actually. So the more we're talking, the more and more I get a little bit more confident about how we can play and how I think we can dismantle this team. Because if you ask me, if Glasner can outsmart and out-tactic, granted a bad Manchester City and Pep Guardiola, but consistently outsmarting Unai Emery, who's a serial Europa League winner, I think that Glasner would have he wouldn't even break a sweat trying to break down this no formation team. I'm going to go 2-1 Palace.
Annoyingly, I was going to go 2-1, but I can't go the same.
You can.
Okay, fine. On this occasion, I will go 2-1 as well.
You're copying me. I can't believe it.
And you know what? Alex agrees. Durfez agrees. So...
Mm-hmm. Maybe I'm copying them. You never know.
Maybe.
So both of us are going for a win.
Yeah.
And we're both going to be there, so there's going to be another vlog. Don't you guys worry.
And don't worry, there will be a watch along as well. So,
yeah, we need to get Rich drunk so he actually goes on a watch along and doesn't go to the party. Let's go through some comments before we round out. Animal saying Bish Bash Bosh 1-1 draw. Then Mark Lacroix or Hendo longboard to Mateta, who either will win or lose it. He'll get goes to shoot having a shot.
Yeah,
When
pretty
Eze
much, to be
redeems
honest.
himself, we'll be laughing. We'll have my revenge. That Mitchell back pass will hit like crack. Any away day pubs, Dan?
Normally people go to the Weatherspoons. Well, if you want one in Brighton, you go. People normally go to the Spoons in Brighton. I can't remember what it's on the main. It's on like the main street. I can't remember what it's called. Oh, it's called no. What's it called? I can't remember. But the only thing I will say is just if you don't want to end up being kettled,
go to the ground early.
Yeah, go to the ground earlier. Then yeah. I mean, I'm not too sure where I'm going to go yet. So a lot of people do different things, to be honest. So some people go Lewis, some people stay in East Croydon and go down. Some people get the coach. Some people go to the Weatherspoons. To be honest, if you're looking for a quiet pint, there are a lot of pubs in Brighton that if you're not wearing colours, then you can just go into them anyway. So.
Animal here says if only Ebbs had Gordon's determination.
Well, then that's why God nerfed him, to be honest, because then he'd be overpowered.
Oh, he was when he had Elise, and he actually had some determination about him. Alex here says, believes good at causing chaos in the middle. Got to be a huge yellow card is in this one. I'd put a bet on it. I would definitely put a bet on it. Makes sense. Cheers. Spirit says easy win for Palace. Can't be players are going to go in 2-1. Spirit says revenge time 4-0.
Oh, God.
Durfus says 1-1, possibly 2-1 to us. Animal says F it. 3-1 to Brighton, I'm guessing. Offer us nothing. Gonna win watch long, maybe 3-1 to us. Tactics and formations aside, I think this will come down to the team who wants it more and handles the pressure the best.
Yeah, I think that's something. I think sort of a lot of times we've been to their place. I feel like we've been so lackluster and we just haven't even shown up.
And also, I think something that Dan said to me on the phone earlier, but I'll say it now, is that Hertzler, with being so young, he's not got that much experience, and that does show when doing a little bit of game management. So towards the end of the games, like we've been guilty of this as well, but towards the end of the games, he might make the wrong sub. He might try and change formation to do something that maybe wouldn't be the best in that situation. So maybe if he's trying to hold a draw, he'll put a striker on, and then they'll invite more pressure onto themselves. So it just wouldn't make sense. And, other stuff like that, basically just showing a little bit of inexperience there. Take our chances, easy win. Well, all right, Michael Owen. Cheers, says SECPFC, and yeah, that is true. Yeah. Cool. Dan, is there anything else that you want to say before we round out? And I click this button, and the button's not going to work, so I'm going to pull the video up just in case, because I know it's not going to work.
Okay, I guess it's Lewis Dunks.
You can't say that.
He's a what? I haven't said anything.
It's a
Eagles.
Eagles.